Yeah, we're live. It is 6:48, a little bit early. Today was an exciting day. Yes, I officially went and picked up the Sprint today. Went and got a tow dolly and dragged it back home. Got it. Excuse me. Got it in the garage. So, and I did a few things. So we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. I'll give you a little update on that, what's going on there. But tonight, the subject is I want to talk about intercoolers, air to water intercoolers. We could talk about air to air intercoolers too, because that's going to, that's going down the same path. But the thumbnail that I have up is the dual core unit that we use on all the Big Bang stuff. And what that is it's a dual inlet, because we're running two turbos, dual inlet, and then dual cores, and then a single outlet. I don't think we could talk a little bit about, I don't think it's ideal. It's ideal, and that's what we had, and it worked. and it did its job of cooling, particularly when we run ice water through it, which, on the Big Bang stuff, the turbo stuff just loves ice water, which is why I'm really excited about running ice water on the Sprint stuff when we do that stuff at Bonneville, and having a good pump and a good 5-gallon, reservoir or whatever full of ice water. And that'll be cool, because they when you do that, when you run the turbos, love intercooling. And then they love air to water intercooling even more, because it seems to work a little better, because it's just more efficient. And then with ice water, even, you just take it that whole nother step, the whole nother level. You elevate it. When we go from like ambient water to ice water, it works. You can hear it. I mean, the thing that just sounds a lot happier. It wants to get with the program, and it obviously makes a lot more power and stuff. So that's good. It also helps ward off detonation and stuff from temperature induced detonation, let's say. It doesn't cure all the other forms that would originate from other things, but it's a good step. It's a good step in the right direction. Lets you get away with it. Just, think about it as widening. It widens the tuning window by quite a bit. You could get away with dumb octane and hot spots and timing and other things that you couldn't otherwise get away with if you have very, very cold charge temperature. And that's why the ice water stuff is good. Now, obviously, the guys that are anti-ice water, oh yeah, you can't run on the street. Yeah, we get all that. We've discussed that many times. It's fine. We don't. Nobody's going to drive around with ice water, because it's just going to melt. And most of the time you're driving around, you're not using it anyway. So you're just driving around. That's not a good position to be in. Bonneville, excellent. Drag racing, excellent. Road racing, no, not good. Silver State, no, not good. And even for just driving around, air to water systems work really good. I've had them on my cars, and they work really good. So do air to airs for just driving around, and then you get on the throttle, and you're on the throttle for short bursts of time, and then you recover, and all that works good. Ice water, not good for that, because you don't, like I said, you spend most of your time just driving around. That's just not good. But on this particular one, this is the one that we use for the Big Bang stuff. And each one of these cores we know will support, because we've made 1,000 horsepower or more with just one of the cores, like a single in and a single out. And that's fine. And so that, therefore, two of them should be 2,000 horsepower, but it doesn't work like that, because we don't have the same amount of flow with two going in and only one going out. Even if we make the single going out a little bit bigger, or double up on the end tank volume, or just put a gigantic opening in it, you probably could get it to there, but they didn't do that. They because the other thing we have to consider when they're making these things is packaging. Like, yeah, you could make a big middle end tank, a combined end tank for the two. You could have two coming out, or one big one, or however you wanted to do it, but then it just makes the thing even bigger. As it is, when this thing is together and given the cast end tanks, and when it's full of water, it's very heavy. And also, you can't put it in front of a radiator, because there's no flow through like there is on an air to air. At least you get some of that. You don't get any of that with an air to water. And where are you going to package it? So my poll for tonight is going to be, okay, would you ever use this type of dual core air to water intercooler on a street strip turbo car or truck? And the one that I'm talking about is the one that's in the thumbnail. So if you don't know on the poll, go look at the thumbnail and you can see which one I'm talking about. Let me know if that's the kind that you would use, and then we'll see. We're looking at intercoolers because we're doing turbos now at richardoldnerperformance.com. So we got cams and springs and lifters and trays and turbos now, and billet boost blocks, the 3Bs. We've got a lot of things that we're constantly adding to it. But if we're going to do turbos, the blow-off valves and wastegates are obviously next, but intercooler too also. But like the intercooler thing, or like the exhaust manifold for the turbos, some sort of dedicated turbo deal, we don't want to make one intercooler that's just, designed to fit one kind of application. Here, this fits this kit. We don't want to do kits. There's people out there doing that. We don't want to do that. But we wouldn't mind recommending or even selling an intercooler that we know that has worked, that we've tested, but the fitment thing is going to become ultimately the issue. So that's the thing I'm asking for. Something like that. Is this too big? Maybe one of these for an air to water, even a smaller kind of version. Because that's the nice thing about an air to water is because it's so much more effective given its size because of the density of water and the thermal mass. It's better at cooling, so you can make it smaller than you can in air to air to get equal cooling. And so you could package it differently. It doesn't completely solve the problem. You can't make it really small, but you don't have to take up the whole front of the radiator either, which is also good. So, there are pluses and minuses, both of those. So let me know in the poll to see if that's something you might work. I could see a guy using it on a remote mount, like for a truck. That might work. If he's got room up front, you got a bunch of room on the side or wherever you'd have room, you could put it inside instead of a passenger seat, you could just put it right there. Because I've seen some big intercooler boxes put there, particularly for Bonneville cars. We had some stuff done like that, and it works pretty well. On the Sprint update, though, really quick, we can talk more about intercooling. We're going to use an intercooler on that. It has an intercooler on it from the factory, but I got the Sprint back. I haven't gone through and really started wrenching on it. I did a couple of things because I had to clean out the garage and to get the car in and do all that stuff. But so I did a couple of things. I just want to do a quick check. I ran over and I stole the battery off of the Metro because that was a new battery and put it on the Sprint. And I took the plugs out. So the first bit of information that you guys get to have, because I'm going to ask you your opinion about this. So I'm going to ask you what you think I should test here. So you guys can list out some things to test to figure out if we can get this thing started. I took the plugs out. The plugs are brand new. And when I say brand new, I don't mean that they've only been run a little bit. I mean that whoever put them in brand new, and they've never had a heat cycle on them. They've never even had an arc happen. So the plugs are out of the box and put in there. And if somebody tried to crank it over with those plugs in there, they were not successful. They never fired. And that's exactly what I found. I took the plugs out. I turned the motor over, make sure that it would rotate, that it wasn't frozen. It's not locked up. So that's a good sign. It's a good start. And then put the plugs back in. I tried spraying some brake cleaner, carb cleaner in there to see, because I didn't know if the injectors wanted to fire or any of that stuff. Sprayed some of that in there and just thought, well, let's just give it a shot and see what happens. Maybe it just fires right up and everything's happy and it's going to work. That did not happen. So judging by the plugs and judging by the results from that singular quickie test that I did, the injectors are not firing and the plugs are not firing. So neither one of those is working. And also the fuel pump is not energizing. So I did check the fuse block that's there inside the car, and all of those fuses are good. I don't know if that's an indication that maybe it's the ECU that is bad. There could be something else there. I haven't done a voltage check to see if there's voltage to various things, to see if the fuel pump relay, that could be something simple. That could be the only reason it's not going on. But I do not think that the injectors are firing. And I do not think that the spark plugs are firing. So I haven't checked voltage to the coil. I mean, I haven't done any of the normal things that you would do. I haven't even done a compression test, but it does have compression because when we, took the plugs out and spun it over and then put the plugs in and spun it spun over slower, and you can hear it struggling a little bit. So there is some compression, at least in one of the cylinders. The compression would not be the thing that's stopping it from firing. So it's electrical in nature, I'm pretty sure. So let me know what you guys are thinking, if there's something I should look at. I don't even remember now. It's been so long since I worked on this thing. I don't even know where the factory computer is on this thing. I know where the vane meter is and all that stuff, but I don't remember where the factory ECU is. I don't think it's in the kick panel. I kind of looked over there and it didn't look like that there was anything there. Maybe it's back behind the glove box or something. I just haven't done a search for it in a long time. I don't remember now if I have like a factory wiring manual or anything. But let me know what you guys think so that tomorrow I can start checking things out and seeing. I'm excited that it has a stereo in it, which I didn't know that it had that, and it works. So the stereo goes on and plays music. The front headlights didn't go on, but all the rest of the lights did. It looks like that they had water in them, so I think that I'm going to check the bulbs on them and see. But maybe they're bad. The starter was working fine. This car has AC, or at least it has that set up on it. I don't know if it works or what kind of condition it's in. All the other things, like I said, seem like they're there. What else? What else can I tell you? I think that's it. I haven't hooked up to see if there's oil pressure. I don't even know if I didn't even look to see if there's oil in it. I didn't even check the dipstick. I need to check that. I just was going to, if it started up, I was going to turn it off and just go, oh, okay, well, I need to look at these things now and see what's going on. But let me, I'll see what you guys have for some recommendations, but let me know about intercooling. We want to do some intercooler stuff. That intercooler that I've used a lot, that one was from CX Racing, I think, that dual core one. Their single core ones I also like. We've used those on a lot of stuff. That's the normal go-to one for me, because not very often am I, other than the Big Bang stuff, am I running twin turbo stuff where we need like a massive amount of core size and flow and cooling. The one thing that I can say, if you take a look at the thumbnail and take a look closely at the photo, you'll see that the way that they run the water to those cores, they have an in and an out, and they're both on the same side. So they loop that around. That's a terrible idea. They need to have two big openings on either side. They can even have the divider in there. I don't care about that because that's going to be part of the design anyway. It's already in there. But what I have wanted to do since I got these cores is put bigger openings on them and just have the water flow straight through. I want it to go in one side and out the other on both sides. It's a lot of plumbing, and you could even do in one side and then have it go to the other side. I just don't know what the divider setup is. I'm assuming it has a divider all the way down that's just open at the bottom so that the water goes and makes a loop around that. That's how I think it's designed. I've never taken one apart. That would make sense because it's the only way that it could. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that on these cores that there is a divider, that it's not just this is an opening and this is an opening and we just push water in there and then we just hope that it all goes, because the way to do it correctly would be to have it flow so that it goes all the way through so that you're not just keeping hot water in there. That's what I'm getting at. But if you did it this way, where you had fittings on the top and fittings on the bottom and it just flowed through, that's all that it can do. It just goes all the way through. You get good flow rate. We get, better recovery and all that stuff. And I just think it would work better, particularly when we're trying to run 30 pounds of boost or whatever, getting some temperature in there. Let's see what you guys got going on. Eric, Untrue, Jet, what's going on? Agent Sleepyhead, the Sprint is in the house. North Wales, Neil's here. Just got my vacuum block today. Can't wait to get it in the wagon. Really beautiful piece. We're looking at trying to do some, this is an ongoing thing with RichardHoldnerPerformance.com. Some laser etching on this stuff. So we'll get the logo on there and stuff. It's not about the size of the boat, except for when it is. Cold air is dense air. We like cold air. It'd be easy to use a Peltier cooler. 100 mile an hour air cooling on the hot side. Who cares if you can use it on the street? Not the point or correct use. Yeah, this kind of intercooler, I don't know that it's not really, in my opinion, a streetable kind of one. It would be more drag race. Driving around Lake Almanor and there's snow everywhere. My brother has gone there quite a bit. Up in that area. In fact, where I went and got the Sprint is not up in that area, but it's up towards Tahoe from past Sacramento. Overbuilt, you got a live stream. Welcome. Blessing to you, your wife, kids, and critters. Yep. They're all, well, nobody's here. Just me and the critters are here right now. Cold air is not dense air at the top of Mount Everest. That's right. DA on the top of Mount Everest. You should be able to calculate that out. I think that they have density changes for elevation. It's not going to be absolute, but it would give you an idea because that's up where planes fly. I want an air-to-water intercooler. Adapter kit for all would be sweet. You said you tested several different turbos for your website. I'm interested to see if you did video on those. I purchased a 6670 you had for sale. Yeah, we have data on that. We ran that one. We ran an S369, ran a 7875 Gen 2 or Gen 2.5. Ran the 3584 and then the 42 and the GT45. And the next time I go down, I'm going to run an S475. Thanks, Neil deGrasse Tyson. As long as people are not shooting at you. In Mount Everest, approximately what size is the air-to-water intercooler as far as fitment? I don't have dimensions on it. It's like about this big and like about this big. Does what have a crank sensor? Does the Metro or does the Sprint? I don't know. I would assume that it does. It has a distributor. Check ECU pins, power ground first, and then move on. Yeah, I gotta find the ECU first. One of your videos, you said increased compression is usually a general percentage increase. What is the percentage? 3 to 4% per one full point is a good rough estimate. Bad ground, add a ground. Well, the grounds are good because at least the battery ground is good. Low voltage battery cell. Now the battery's brand new and it's showing 13.8 volts. So that's fine. Should be at least 2 wires plus 12 EDC to the ECU and 2 to 3 grounds off of the ECU. Does it have an emergency cutoff like an auto shutoff relay? I was thinking about that too. There is what I think I need to look at the wiring thing. I think it has a fuel pump relay in the engine compartment, but I don't know if it has that inertia switch. I don't know if this was, well, yeah, 88 Mustangs had them, so they might. I'll check and see if it has that, if it needs to be reset. OBD1 or OBD2, I'm pretty sure that this is 1. Yeah, it's not even 1. It's less than 1. Was it sitting outside? Yeah, it was outside. It's been sitting for 6 years. Check the main ground. It controls most of the electrical grounds in older Chevy cars. It's on the core support, usually close to the battery. Yeah, I did do the grounds that go to, or the terminals that go to the battery, but I can check. Both of those are connected, but I can see if they need to be better. I don't think that that's it because of the way that it's starting. Passenger side glove box area, probably where the ECU is. Stereo for thin wind. Can't drive a car without potential for tunes. My truck does not have a radio in it. I pulled the radio out because it was draining the battery, which is, I guess, common in these Silverados. And so and very rarely do I ever listen to it. I just talk to myself like this. Would a 2002 FX4 handle an S300 turbo? It's probably cheaper to do than trying to find a supercharger from a Harley truck. What is an FX4? Is that some sort of Ford designation truck that I don't know about. I know the Harley Davidson ones are like the Lightnings, right? Might have a bad blown hidden fusible link. Yeah, I looked around a little bit for fusible links, but I just need to go online and find out where they would be. Doesn't matter. The OBD, check main relay to ECU. The ECU is working. The scanner will connect and give live data. Yeah, I don't have any scanners. Do you think PIT might fan pull on an intercooler would help? Fun times. I don't know what your question is. I don't understand it. PIT might a pull fan. Will a puller fan help with an intercooler core? I don't know. Need to do a pin test right at the ECM, checking voltage for injectors and spark. Is there such thing as too big of an intercooler? Yeah, I mean, you could get ridiculous and have it be too big. OBD1 is best looked at with a vintage snap-on. Yeah, I don't have any of those. Can I fit the single core 6 racing unit between my frame rails behind the front bumper on my Chevy? I don't know. Let me know. I'm curious to see. Yeah, 80s is pre-OBD. Yeah. Forgot exactly, but OBD1, paper clip on pins, A and B jumper, wire will give, check engine light flash codes. Code 12 means all good and ECM is working. Is that on every Chevrolet, even their import stuff? How big of a Peltier would you need to intercool a Sprint? I don't know. I've never tried any of those. Can you share the videos? Can I share which videos? I've collected about 20 ounces of foamy brownish sludge in my catch can. Uh-oh. I no longer have reverse in my Turbo 400. Hope this doesn't make me give up on the Fox. Usually it doesn't just stay as one bad gear. Usually it expands itself. Is there a formula for optimal surface area as a function of horsepower? If there is, I'm not aware of it. There might be. FX4 4x4. I know, but Jordan, I just didn't know what truck you were talking about. Is it a Ford? Is it a Chevy? They're limited by physics and the hot side being too close to the cold side. They can't deal with large volumes. They can only cool things slowly. Grease Spot, thank you very much. What year is this car? 87, 88. I bought an engine girl and built main caps for the Grand National. Nice. I bet some animal chewed a bad spot sitting that long. That's possible. Rats can get at stuff. I haven't had a car with radios in years. Need to hear all the small but Ford engine problems. Missing ignition. That's not good. I was just happy that we found brand new like iridium plugs in it. Like this is awesome. A few years back, Subaru WRX had water spray bars on the air-to-air intercoolers. Any idea? Yeah, that does help. It definitely, and it certainly helps with recovery time. C4 Corvette is OBD1. I found that on an Escort Cosworth once, somebody put a new engine loom in and it wouldn't start. Turns out somebody had previously botched the job and added another relay to the body loom. Do you have any tips on converting a carburetor to a blow-through? No, you should look that up. I think people have done that online. They can tell you some specific things. You ever reuse Gen 4 rod bolts on those junkyard motors you rebuild? Every one of them. Every Big Bang motor has the same rod bolts that we took out of the motor. I have never replaced factory rod bolts ever. Water spray is pretty good. The RSs have them and the M4CSs. But adding a substantial battery pack and AC motor change the 1 liter class you're trying for? You mean do a hybrid thing? Pins A and B, I recall, jump. OBD1 gives the check engine light flash codes. I don't have videos of the 6670. We didn't make videos on that. I mean, I might have videos of the thing just running on the vehicle, but we didn't use it for a video. We were not doing it for that. We were doing it to test the ones that we wanted to test, to see which ones that we wanted to offer. The paperclip trick can work on some OBD1 vehicles. Beware the shorted power. Can I just use alligator clips? 12 years ago, an 84 Nissan 200 SX was not starting. It was a dead main relay. I got it to run by mashing the relay contacts together. Is there a downside to oversized intercooler? I mean, if you got ridiculous like Garrett did, you could get a response rate thing, but you're not going to get it too cool if that's the question. Turbo 400 has a reverse band or reverse servo issues with no reverse gear. David Vizard has a formula for the surface area, or probably has one. Okay. Isaac, what's going on? Dry ice, heat exchanger, hidden can be fun. Dry ice is not very good for air to water intercooling. I'm back. What final driver are you going to use on the Sprint Turbo? I have 2 transmissions, which I think are stock Sprint Turbo transmissions with the stock gearing in it, which is the 379, I think. The one I'm putting in is the tallest gear for Bonneville, is a 352. And that will give us more than enough gearing to run the speed that we would want to run. I have great success with 12 volt DC 50 watt Peltier coolers. You need to put them together properly and add plenty of insulation. Just need a longer push rod or material added to the end. What size rods do you use when doing cam swaps so no lifters fall? Can't find video of you saying it. What is it? So no lifters fail? The push rods are normally, like when we put our cams in, I measure for the push rod length. I just want to make sure that we have between 1/2 and 1.5 turns of preload on the lifter. But that doesn't make the lifter fail. If you had it really loose, you could make the lifter fail. If you bottomed it out, that could cause a problem too. But that's not normally what happens. But on our cams, you normally use the stock push rod length. And on a lot of other cams, you do too, because the base circle of the cam hasn't changed. The lift and duration has changed, but the base circle of the cam hasn't changed. So the push rod length remains the same. So whatever the adjustment was when it was stock, it will still be that. Mouse chewed up the coil wire and a few more on the Jaguar. Yeah, this has all of that stuff intact, but I'm sorry to hear about that on the Jag. Had to look it up. I remember some of the final drives for the transmission. I forgot. You're right. 352. Yeah, an XFI was not a 352. That motor won't pull that gear. The XFI was a 385. It says here, but the one that I got, the 352, is from a single overhead cam, 4-cylinder, up to 95. It's what it says. I'm sitting in the Gulf on an oil rig. I'm in the Hammond area. Longer servo pins not needed on a Turbo 400. It was bothering me about which ones had which. I remember people with the Swift GT transmissions were 409 and people were going to the 439. Yeah, the 439 was a convertible. And then apparently 96 and up Metros, they just went to that universally, is what the information said. Swifts, yeah, were 410s and the earlier Metros. And then they had a bunch of them. They had 395, 385, 379. I mean, those are all like, you're only changing the very last digit there. That's not that you could change tires and make way more of a difference than this. I use a paper clip to get OBD1 codes. Do you prefer air to air, intercooler, or air to water? Have you ever heard of anyone running AC condenser to get cooler temps? Yeah, the factory Dodge Demons did that. We run air to water on all the Bonneville stuff because it's way better, because we can run ice water in it, and we don't, we're running, depending on which course we're on, we're running 3 miles or 5 miles, and we have more than enough ice water. It will never melt during the run. So we have, 32-degree transfer medium. And so it's not unusual. Like when we were running the Civic, when we went 226 or 7 in the Civic, the charge temperature was about 60 degrees. So it's really nice. I use Nissan SR20 ARP rod bolts on my diesel pickup as the standard bolts used to break. Okay. Anything could have went wrong in my junk. I even babied the POS, which I had a reliable transmission. Turbo 400 should be easy to get, though. Fuel rail extrusions. I'm making a new rail and using one fuel pressure regulator instead of 2, and 4 injectors, 24 4-hole. Okay. I might get myself towed to Trick Flow and repair my junk in their parking lot. Since they can't get small look forward parts out on time, I'm sure they'll love that, right? Speaking of Turbo 400, what's the Jaguar use? Got my water pump done last night. Took me 5 hours using all the wrong tools at my buddy's house. I'm glad you got it done, though. I guess I took reverse for granted all those years. It is nice. I lost reverse on a used Turbo 400. Put in my rock crawler on the first trip outing. For a street trip car, air to air is the best. Okay, that's what you would use. That's good. You get to vote accordingly. I know I came in late. Did you get the Sprint? Yes, I did. And yeah, it doesn't start right now. I mean, I haven't done too much to it. All I do is put a battery in it and took the plugs out and turned it over, make sure it's spun over, and then put the plugs back in, and then sprayed some brake clean in there, but it won't start. It's not, I don't think it's getting, it's not, the fuel pump is not going on. And then also it's not firing the injectors or the plugs. What do you need to check on a motor that had a damaged pistons on it? It still ran, but it was missing a chunk. Must have sent it out the exhaust. I would check whatever cylinder that is. I'd check both the intake valve and the exhaust valve. And also, if you damage a piston, you need to look at all the other ones too. Because what happens is that, in fact, I would shake the intake manifold to see if it's in there. It's very, very common. It's less common that it goes out the exhaust. It's much more common for it to transfer into other ports and to bounce around in the intake manifold. But check the other valves and make sure that it's not hung up on any of the valves, that the valves aren't wedged open and damaged. What do you think a drivetrain loss could be from a C4 to a Power Glide? Currently, the car makes 823 with a C4, but welded stall switching to a built Power Glide with a brake, wondering if it'll lose horsepower. I don't know about a C. You're going from a C4 to a Power Glide? I would think that a Power Glide would have the most loss, but I can't swear to that. Richard, I bet the main relay is off. Just jumper it. Yeah, I just need to figure out where all that is. Mouse or squirrel chewed on the wire. That's certainly possible. Running a new cylinder head. Do you think your 3584 would be too small for a Coyote looking to make 700 wheel? 700 wheel would be the limit of that turbo. Well, I take that back. It would not be the limit of that turbo. If you were looking at that, like if you were looking at 600, I'd say, yeah, put it on. If you're looking at 700, I think that's getting up near the limit where I'd start switching over to another turbo. And honestly, I think on a, if that's a Coyote based one, I think I put the bigger turbo on. The board's good, but I wonder if there could be damage I can't see. Maybe a little too paranoid. Yeah, as long as it didn't hurt. You know, are there a bunch of dents in the piston and in the combustion chamber? If it's an iron head, you don't have to worry about that. You still have to worry about it in the pistons, though. Or one can take it apart, pushing contacts together. Power Glide has the highest efficiency for an automatic. So does that mean if we ran a Turbo 350 and ran a Power Glide that we would see less drivetrain loss with the Power Glide? Richard, also, if you find the main relay is off, the key switch and or its plug could be the other offender. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to check those things by myself because sometimes I need to key on. I need somebody there with me. Just one chip off the edge with the valve relief, maybe a 1 centimeter size check. Okay. Less gears, less drivetrain loss, less boating masses. Power Glide takes less power to turn than other transmissions. Is there data that supports that? I mean, is there a test that we can look at? GW2, you don't need to send me a picture. I mean, if it's small, I still would check those things that I told you about. Super Richie twin chili bomb. You could run 2 of those. I don't know what you'd run 2 of them on, though. I don't know how much those things flow. I wish I had a flow bench so we could flow them. I already have an Amazon 76 millimeter turbo, my Coyote. I think it's laggy. It probably would be. Doesn't start making boost till 4,500. The 3584 would be. How much boost are you running on the 76 millimeter? The best tool to have is very often another person. Yeah, I found that out while I was pushing the Sprint up my driveway. It's not very heavy, but it's still up the driveway. There's definitely grade to that. Trying to order push rods from your shop. I'd pop over and be your multimeter man. I need an airplane. Kind of real street performance of the Power Glide is slower because the drop off from low to high ratio is big. And it's hard on the engine too. I would definitely think that that's the case. I mean, that's kind of why we see all of the transmissions being like 6, 8, 10 speed things, so that there's no drop in between gears. And there would be a big one for Power Glide stuff. Yeah, Rich, let me know. I'd be curious to see where they did a back-to-back test on that. I'd be kind of curious that when you get chassis dyno set up, are you going to test transmissions? No. 9 psi and a 76 millimeter Coyote. Okay. 1.400, 600. Is that? Have you run that on a dyno to see what that makes at 9 pounds? C4 would be quicker than a Glide. Chassis dynos, high gear test, correct. No gear change for rural horsepower. You can do however you want. We've run through all the gears before. It's usually weight braking, ET, and horsepower makes sense to use a Power Glide. What tires will we run at Bonneville? We're just, for the sprint, we're just going to run speed rated tires. Normally we run the front runners, but I honestly don't want to spend $300 or $400 per tire on them. And plus, I think that the smallest ones that they have are 23 inches. And I don't know that we want to go that big on it. Looking at the math, I don't, with the gearing that we have, that'd be a lot. 1160s at 118. Nice. We're gonna call it quits a little early today. I want to get back out and take a look at some stuff and see if I can figure out what's going on. So we got 2 more minutes, but I will be back tomorrow. Would you ever use this type of dual core air water intercooler on a street strip turbo? 68% saying yes. I'm surprised at that. I thought it was going to be like all on the no side. Have you ever thought about doing a big bang test on plastic manifolds? Well, we've already run 30 pounds on them because the first 2 tests were fast manifolds, but the truck and Trailblazer SS stuff will take a lot of boost. What they won't take is a lot of instantaneous boost, like on a backfire situation. But that's not a big bang test. That would be easier just to pressurize the manifold. Just seal it up and then just pump pressure into it. That'd be really easy. That's just an air nozzle. When the car made 823 on a dyno, it was showing 15% loss. Have you ever made your own connecting rod balancer? No, I have not. I've not balanced engines. Building a tune port with an SJ327. I don't know what the SJ is, but yes, for tune port stuff. Hope you'll find a free service manual diagram on the interwebs. I think so. Plastic is much stronger in tension than people think. Shock and age. Yeah, if you look at a truck manifold and the heat that it's been subjected to and the winters and all that stuff for 20, 25 years or whatever, none of us are in the shape that we were 25 or 30 years ago. Bet it'll run in 30 minutes. Yeah, if I can find the wiring diagram, then we could probably do some stuff. I want to I do want the motor to run. I mean, I have the other one and I have a spare one. I got a spare motor and a spare transmission with it. So I now have 4 Sprint turbo motors and 2 transmissions. So I have backups. Use the stand for your chemist burette as your balancing fixture. Is this your old Sprint or the new one you just purchased? I just bought one today. I mean, I just picked it up today. My old one was stolen. That was years and years ago. The rods that I buy are already balanced. They're already done. They have all of the magic that we need. I would find the main relay and hot wire it or pull apart and jam and check spark. Yeah, I did try to do a check on the there's a big relay in the engine compartment, and it also has a big 40 amp fuse on it, I think. And so I'm thinking that might be a main or a fuel pump relay. Balancing is inexact science. Yeah, I'm not doing that myself. I got one more. Uno momento más. I have my Sprint info is getting bigger and bigger. I have all of my math on here with all of my important stuff, my gearing, phone numbers, all my calculations for tire size and RPM, final drives in mile an hour. See, that one goes 131. That one goes 137. That one goes 148. That one goes 154. That one goes 141, then 160, and then 167. Yeah. Just get you excited about the numbers. Turn the key on, then plug the relay back in to see if it clicks on. Oh, that's a good idea. I don't think I did that. How much horsepower is needed to do what? To do which power? One of them, in one of the classes, I only need to go 125. So we already know that, like, even 100 at the tire will do that. That's just boost in the intercooler and stuff that I have. That's all that, and a good clutch. That's all that is. The goal is to be. I want to be over 200 at the tire. Is the goal. What's needed for a big block 454 to live at 9,000 RPM on road racing? Solid roller cam, rev kit. A really, really good oiling system. Remember to block off the headlights to reduce drag? Yeah, we can't do that. And it already has headlights. The headlights are already flush with the body panels. So there's nothing else that we have to do to that. In the production supercharged class, I don't think we can put any aero stuff on it. Some of the other ones we can do that. But the headlights are already good on this. They're not recessed. Like the some of the Metros are like that, but the Sprint is not like that. It has flush headlights with the body panels. And it's really small. The frontal area on the car is really small. I wish that the one thing I do like about the later Metros, I like the slope of the back hatch window. It's better on the later ones than on this one. This one's a little more abrupt. I work alone. That's how I learned how to do it with no extra hands. Yeah, that's good. I need to, before I figure out that relay's working, I need to find out what that relay is. I need to find out what relay it is. So I need to know, then I'll know what it should be doing. 200 horsepower. That thing could crack the sound barrier. 200 horsepower at the tire should go 150 or better. Nothing more fun than taking off the hood of my car by myself in the middle of the night. Yeah, you learn how to do stuff. You learn how to make it work. It's like me pushing the Sprint up today. I asked my son to help me, but then I couldn't find the keys, and then he had to leave for soccer, and then I found him right after he left. I'm like, this is always the way. I always end up working into the night. I can't call anyone. Yeah, and I don't want to bother people. I'll do lots of dumb stuff, really, for all night, every night or whatever. But I understand that other people don't want to do that. I don't blame them. I'd rather stay home with Lisa. But we also got to get stuff done. You have to just map the electrical system and plywood. Know where it's all going. I'm not doing that. What I'll do is tear it all out and then call Ish and take the car down and say, hey, here, I need you to hook up the Haltech and just make it run, and let's tune it. Well, as soon as he makes it run, then I can do the tuning on. That's not going to be a problem because I'll know what it needs to do. But that will be a lot easier. And then I could tear out the vane meter and the inlet and all that. So I could tear out, it has AC on. I need to take the AC out. I was just trying to work on it. I'm like, what is all this stuff that's in the way? This is terrible. But then I looked inside. I'm like, it has a little blue switch on it. It actually has AC, which is kind of awesome. And I forgot to tell you guys the best thing about this car. It's by far the best thing. So if you know about the Datsun 240Zs and the 260s and the 280s, I think had them too. But my favorite thing on those was the little under hood light. So they have a little light that's attached to I think it's the inner fender well. And they have a little light that you can turn on so that you could see under the hood, but it's off to the side. So, but what you can do is if you take the nose cone, basically the light part of that off, it unscrews. I mean, it's just a push lock thing. And then there's a big spiral of wire there. And then you undo that and you hang that on the latch for your hood. And that's your under hood light. I'm like, that's genius. This Sprint, somebody did that. So they have a light. I haven't got it to work yet, but they have a light and it has a wire that goes down inside the hood. So I think it's doing it when the hood opens or something. And it's hanging up there and it's a little dome light like that. I'm like, God, someone did that. They must have seen the Nissan ones. And so that's awesome. So now I have to get that to work because it has to be, because otherwise these don't have any of that. Use Holley and Haltech ECUs. I will use a Haltech ECU on this one, but I also use Holley stuff on the engine dyno. Looking at a Haltech right now, Richard. Yeah, a Haltech ECU for the win. Or me, I'm a cheap Russ ECU. Yeah. I love the old extended lights. Yeah, I know. That was my favorite thing. I have a Holley. I want to try Haltech. Might sell a Holley. If I had a Holley, I'd just use the Holley. But the Holley doesn't have it doesn't have a drop-down menu for a 3-cylinder. And the guys told me that they don't think that it'll work on the 3-cylinder. But the Haltech guy said, yeah, it will definitely work on the 3-cylinder. So that's the answer that I want. I want them to say, oh yeah, that's not a problem at all. Looking for Ford racing shirts or merchandise for years in the local Goodwill or Salvation. Where have they all gone? Must have used them for rags. You know what I did find is this. Kaufman Products. See that Mustang right there? That's mine. It says Kaufman Products on it right there, yeah. This goes way back. In fact, I dug this out because I was going to take it down. I was going to show Mark Sanchez the next time I was down there. I don't know when this is from. It's from a long time ago, though. But that's Chris's road race cars and stuff. But that's my Mustang from the Silver State. You can see it even has a Turbo Magazine sticker on the front of it. It says Kaufman Products on the side. One of the many things I dug out when I was, and then the this one is from, oh, this one's from 2003. Myron Cottrell, TPIS. Now it's Jim Hall. But that's an 03 catalog. Just good stuff, man. Have you ever used Max ECU? I have not. My 93 Grand Prix has that in the trunk. Air to water, more pressure, hand on fire, fan, no water hose. My 85 Celica has a light on the center console on a wire. My 94 K1500 has that light under the hood and the curved reach to the rear of the truck. That's nice. Cool car on the AEM cover, AEW, yep. For your Lubbock truck camshaft with any different length push rods, no. The stock heads use the same length push rods, like an LS3 uses the same length push rods. Chevy 1500 has those in the rear of the engine compartment. I have that light on my truck when you open the hood that the light goes on, but it doesn't move around though, and also that light doesn't go on anymore. So I need to fix it. You ever think you'll see any of the RHP cam shirts out of the public? I don't know. I have found HF underhood lights useful. They can change and light up at the same time. Fox body map light is way cooler. I like the thing that I liked on my Fox was the ashtray in the center, because that's where I hid my nitrous switch. There's a company that makes a chiller that uses cars ACs. Yep, we've talked about that a bunch. Are ProMax performance heads any good? Picked up a new pair. Yeah, I don't know which ones you're talking about. I've run their Ford heads, small block Ford heads, and I've run their big block Chevy heads. I don't know if I've run any other ones from ProMax, but those both worked well. I don't think I've run their small block Chevy stuff, but they seem to know what they're doing. I mean, I don't think that they're airflow research good, but I think that they're good. So shout out to the guys at Brian Tooley Racing and Airflow Research and SCAT and all of Vortec, Race Tech, all the guys that are helping the channel out. Obviously, RichardOldnerPerformance.com. All those good people. So make sure that you go help those guys out. And also, I wanted to mention for the Brian Tooley stuff, we are a Brian Tooley dealer. So if you want Brian Tooley stuff, you can also get that stuff through RichardHoldnerPerformance.com. All those trucks came with lights. You can get them from the junkyard by unbolting them and run them in any vehicle. Yeah, mine's a 2002. And on that note, it is time to go. Thank you guys all for showing up. I'll be back probably doing some stuff on the Sprint tonight and definitely tomorrow. We'll see what happens.